Next time, bring a sport coat.
I will.
Bring a nice sport coat.
I will.
Sport coat you up.
All right.
Then I can comment on it. You ready?
This is the Grow Business Podcast with Cory Mosley.
Wind it up. Wind it up. Wind it up and throw it out. When's baseball coming back?
So pitches and catches are reported. Actually, they're...
What did you say? They're reported?
Pitches, so it's called in mid-February, pitchers and catchers report first.
Okay.
And they start tossing.
So they're going there. Okay.
And so they're actually...
All right, too far into the weeds for me on this. Welcome to the Grow Business Podcast.
In the March.
Yeah, LG007 giving me a long-winded answer to when baseball is coming back in, and then using terminology that I'm not, they've reported. I don't know what he's talking about, but you are in the right place because you didn't come here for all that, right? That's another podcast about baseball. There's plenty of people talking about that stuff if you're into it. You're here because you want to grow your business, and you 100%. Are in the right place. I'm Cory Mosley, joined by, I'm joined by LG007. Lon Graham is here.
Voice of reason.
The voice of reason. Yes, hopefully that will sound louder in post than it does.
Voice of reason.
Okay, there we go.
Awesome.
Yeah, as usual, if there's something going on with a voiceover or something, it's Willie H doing it. Willie H is here. Yeah, give yourself a round of applause. Right. Now, you know that used to be my my horn back when I was on TV.
Okay.
When they would introduce me
on live TV.
Yeah, when I was on live TV, when they would introduce me on the morning show, they would hit the horn.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Shout out to those people.
Those who shall remain nameless.
Those people. There's a story there, folks. There's a story. Yeah. There's a story there. Well, we've got an interesting show today. And what I said to Lon was, I said, we're going to get a little controversial.
Okay.
I'm feeling a little gitchy today. Okay. I'm feeling a little loose. And I'm feeling that I want to, say a few things.
Okay.
Hold on, Buckaroo. Yeah, hold on, Buckaroo. And and you actually may end up leading most of this.
Okay.
You don't realize it because this is really your wheelhouse what we're getting ready to talk about.
Okay.
This is something that you're known for and definitely something in your wheelhouse. And folks, if you're wondering what we're talking about today, we're going to be talking about networking.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But that's not the controversial part.
Right.
What we're really talking about is, are you networking for those of you who network, are you networking to grow your business or just seem busy?
Okay.
Because I believe that there are a lot of people out there attending these networking events that are there for breakfast.
Okay.
And you and I have had this conversation, and we've debated, and some of the formats of some of these things, many people go with great intentions, end up stuck with one person that is not even a buyer.
Right. Lord have mercy.
And this is your area of expertise.
Okay.
Because it's very well documented. As extroverted as I am, and people think I'm crazy when I say this, the last place I typically want to be is a networking function.
Right.
And Cory, that sounds completely crazy, right? That's a great place to get business and introduce people and meet people. Right. Now, I didn't say representatives from our organizations would not be at a networking event, 100%. But that's probably one of the last places for me to be.
Right.
Because I believe a lot of the people who are, I always invite flack, but it is what it is. Right. Because I know a lot of people who spend a lot of time networking.
Right.
Now, I don't know what kind of business they're doing. I don't know what revenues look like, but, and you and I have had this conversation. Yeah. So I said you would be a great leader for this too, as we talk, because you have generated business obviously from networking and it creates residual opportunities. We get people who are like, hey, talked to Lon 6 months ago, wasn't ready now, or nice interaction, kept you on our radar, whatever. So I want to be very clear. This debate or conversation today is not about the values of networking, because I would have close friends of mine like Dawn Brooks Gullah calling me up asking if I'm crazy. She's the empress of networking,
she is
right?
The empress of networking. Indeed.
So her whole business is derived on that. So networking is powerful, no question about it. That's not the conversation.
Right.
The conversation today is for business owners and viewers who are investing in networking or maybe have not thought about it, particularly at the local level.
Right.
To be honest with themselves about what they're trying to do.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, yeah, look, it's like everything, right?
Hold on, I'm not done yet. Hold on. Hold on. I want to get one more thought out
I'm developing my thoughts. Please go.
Yeah. I want to say the reason why I'm calling this out is because I have been guilty of avoiding bigger things or doing things and finding busy work.
Right.
Like, I got a deadline. I got a project I need to do. You know what? I'm tired of looking at this closet unorganized.
Right. And
now all of a sudden, I need to organize the closet because that's the pathway to me getting in a creative space to whatever. So I have done that. I'm going to pick some less than opportune time to catch up on accounting.
Right.
Well, let me go download the statements and get them over to our accountant like in the middle of the day when I know I have something pressing. So I am guilty of that.
We all are.
And I think people apply that to, I'm terrified of making cold calls.
Okay.
I don't want to sit here and work on LinkedIn Sales Navigator all day.
Right.
Let me go to some event where they've got libations and hors d'oeuvres.
Right.
And appear to be trying to develop business.
Right.
Lon Graham, go ahead.
Well, Cory, we've had these, you are right. We've had these conversations. We've had these conversations in depth. And the reality of networking is on one end of the spectrum, we talk about scale, right? On one end of the spectrum, there are people that are looking to get out of the house because that's the only opportunity they get to engage with people. On the other end of the spectrum, there are people that really maximize the networking opportunities and really take advantage of it. I think the hardest part of this is, and what you end up seeing is the same people in the same space.
Right.
And part of that is because those people
and they're not doing any business together. Like I'm seeing the same people who don't actually do business together.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. So the value of networking is how you prepare for the event that you're going to. What is it that you go into that event? Think about a networking event like going to a conference. Would you ever go to a conference and just show up? If you did, and there are people that do, but not the people that get the most out of it. Same thing with a networking event. You go, and even if you go to the same networking event every week, you'd have a sense of who's going to be there.
Right.
Go there with a plan to speak to somebody that you either are advancing business that you're doing with, advancing their relationship because they have access to an area that you want. But networking, and it certainly takes it takes on a number of different forms. I think what you're talking about is the regularly occurring networking events where people show up, say hi, get a cup of coffee, grab a glass of wine, and then leave.
I want the visual. I'm talking about when I go there and I've got to get I've got to pick the color that represents my industry.
Okay.
Blue for healthcare. I got to pick the thing that says what industry I'm in. And then I've got to sit there nursing my cranberry juice. For those of you watching on YouTube, I've got to stand there nursing my cranberry juice, asking people where they're from and what they do, or come up with some pithy questions because that's what the book said. Right. I got to get out my guide to ice breaking at networking events and ask some obscure questions, right? And pretend to be interested. So that's what I've always said about you. You're actually interested.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I mean, again, I'm not saying talk to any of my clients. I'm a champion of my clients. I want them to do well. I'm invested in their success.
Right. Yay.
Before that, But before that, I just don't know that I need to hear the story about you and Rochester, New York, and how you got here. I just don't know that is interesting to me. I don't know if that was a good. I don't know. It was a good job, but
I think it was. Yeah.
But I just enlighten me, oh wise one.
Well, one of the things that I've learned, and over the last really 4 or 5 years, one of the goals that I had specifically was to get more involved in the community in Richmond.
Okay.
Because in previous roles, I was on the road a lot. I was traveling all over the state, all over the country. So I made a conscious effort to get more involved in the community itself and get to know the people in the community. And that included business leaders.
Right.
That included small business owners. And that was just across the board because I'd lived here for a while. I was a consumer and I hadn't gotten to do that. So I did join some things. I joined a social organization that provides networking opportunities. I mean, I joined Rotary. We've talked about that. And I joined a local Rotary community. Well, I got to meet leaders and community leaders and business owners. And I got to meet people because of that. It was intentional, though, that I chose that organization to join because of the people that were in it.
Okay.
And I had a very good friend who was a member of that, who had been talking to me about it for a year.
Okay. So that's fine.
Right.
Because you had intention.
I had 100% had intention.
I want to talk to the people. I want to talk to the people.
Okay.
Because it also creates a false sense. Like if I'm going in for opportunity, okay, you've been to, this is your jam, right? Going to these things is your jam, right? You have been my emissary for some time in these situations as well. Do you find that you have met a lot of people who are not really in a position to do business with other people? And this is a two-parter. Okay. Or people who are turning to these events as the bastion of saving or springboarding their ability to get business.
Yeah. Yes. And yes. Yeah. There are people that go to go.
Right.
Yeah. They go to either be seen or they go to see.
Right. Success. 90% of success is just showing up.
Right. And there's a
right. That's what they say.
Yeah. Keep showing up.
Yeah. Sometimes they ask you not to show up anymore.
Well, there is that too.
Yeah.
To your point, though, there's one event that I go to that's a monthly event, and it is a group of business individuals, people we've done business with, and people that have been clients of ours.
Right.
There is a table that's in the back corner,
okay, and
there are the same 4 people at that table every time I walk in there. Now, I make a point to go back and say hi because I know all 4 people at that table, say hello, do my thing, and then I'm out in 5 minutes. But that's an example of what you're talking about. These are 4 people that go to this event, and once a month, and they find that spot that the bar top table, and they stand in the back corner and they talk. Right. And maybe that's their catch up. I don't know what it is, but I do know that if I walk in there, they're going to be back in that corner. So I can go say hi because I know all of them, and I go move around and migrate and navigate around. But I go to these things with a purpose, either to meet somebody or to continue a conversation with somebody, and some of the things, one of the beauties of social media is people will share things that they're doing. So it's an opportunity to understand that. If you know something is doing something that you think you can be a part of or that you can support or you think would lead to something for you, that's a great way to go to that meeting with your plan. But you've got to, for these things to be successful, you've got to have a plan before you go. Right. You've got to decide who you want to see, who you want to talk to, and what you want to accomplish,
and who you don't,
and who you want to stay away from.
So here's what I want to know, because this is going to turn into an interview, more so, right?
Sure. Okay.
This is going to turn into an interview. What I want to know, and I think people would like to know too, particularly if they're new to networking, or maybe they've been quote unquote doing it wrong. I mean, they're not getting anything out of this.
Right.
How do you get out of a conversation with someone that you don't want to talk to, or that is not the right person, but because they've got their own whatever going on, they've latched onto you so that they don't have to talk to more people, they don't whatever, but they're completely wrong. There's not, and I don't mean, you're going to the event. I'm not going to the event to give we can't get time back.
100%.
Right. So where we spend our time, whether, and that's why I don't care about people. I'll get into different directions, but like, these people that say, watching TV is for losers or all that stuff. Listen, if that's how you can catch a break, right, watching a stupid show that you find entertaining or whatever. Now, becoming a zombie is a problem. Right. But if that's your outlet, everybody is entitled to their version of self-care, right? So if that's watching your favorite show every day or watching a couple shows or whatever, then have at it. Yes, could you be more productive if you were reading the latest book on funnel building or whatever? On theory or whatever, self-help or nonfiction, sure. Right. Would you be better off maybe than watching, maybe not. Real Housewives of Bumbleville? Right. Maybe not. But everybody's entitled to that. So, but there's a degree of where I'm going with this is a degree of transference, right? So like, oh, great, I latch onto you. You seem interesting. And if I think people show up trying to get through the event. Okay. It's from 5 to 6:30. If I can just get through, right? Maybe I'll meet someone that was going to save my business or going to be I can collaborate with somebody. I love people who want to collaborate, but they're not really bringing anything to the table to collaborate. What they're really saying is, we'd love for access to all your clients, all your clout, all of your whatever,
your juice.
Yeah. So. I'm sorry. Let me go back to my original question. How do I get out of that? How do you get out of a situation? Mind you, if you're ever in an engagement with Lon anywhere and he pulls one of these techniques, that is him not wanting to talk to you.
Lord have mercy. So there's a couple things that, and this works in public situations.
Okay.
All the time.
Yep.
Now, you can always say, "Look, I got to go to the bathroom."
Right.
If you got to get out, you can.
That's clutch.
I got to go to the bathroom. That's the one that is. Look,
did somebody just page me? Hold on. Is that my pager going off?
Right. Exactly.
I think I left my stove on.
That's one that.
Do you smell gas?
Right. Is that the fire department?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I mean, look, that's
my serious face.
I've got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
The other thing that people do, I haven't done this one, but I've seen people do it, is they'll pull their phone out and like, oh, I got to take this.
Okay.
Maybe it's legit. Maybe it's not. Whatever. That's not the point. I don't have a problem, me personally.
I said, who's calling you?
Right.
Like I want, that lie, all you need is a little extra detail. Right. And that takes people completely out of the game, right? One little extra detail to sniff out that lie. People fall apart. Oh, I got to take, who is it? That phone ain't ringing.
Right. I have a hard enough time remembering the truth, much less remembering a lie. But legitimately though, you can say, look, I got to go to the bathroom. Nobody's going to debate that unless you don't go to the bathroom. Right. But if you at least walk in that direction, nobody's going to debate that.
You just got to go in there and count it out.
Just all right.
This seems long enough. Right. 1,000, 2 1,000. Run some water.
Right. Exactly.
Get that machine going. Just so it's blowing. So like, you got to go through. I'm going to follow you. Like you pull that move on me, I'm going. We both going in the bathroom. Well, you know what? Me too. Let's keep talking. Let's keep talking.
Right. But
I was born in South Dakota and
let's find the stuff. The other thing though that I don't have a problem doing, and not everybody's comfortable doing this, is I will say, well, there is somebody that I came here to talk to. So I'm going to go, I have an opportunity to go catch them.
Gotcha.
And I don't have a problem doing that, especially at a networking event, because for me, that's the purpose of being
What's
there.
your opener? What's a Lon Graham opener? If we're mixing and mingling.
Like at a networking event?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's the topic. You don't say. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's situational. The answer is it depends.
Okay.
It's like the answer to everything is it depends, right? If it's somebody that I know, that I've seen, I'll continue a conversation that we had the last time I talked to him. Like, how's that going for you? What is that thing? What are you doing? If it's somebody that I've never met before, What inspired you to come here? Who invited you? Who did you come with?
I like that. What inspired? Yeah. Why are you here?
Well, in a nice way though, right? Instead of why are you here, make somebody now feels like they're not supposed to be.
Right.
Like what inspired you to attend this event?
Yeah.
Or who invited you to come? But what inspired you usually leads to, wow, I was invited by Joe. And well, how do you know Joe?
Yeah.
Or how do you know Susie?
Right.
Okay, well, we worked together. Or we were having a conversation about this. And that leads to a conversation. And it doesn't take long. I mean, you know this for me. It doesn't take long to find common ground.
Correct.
I'll give you an example,
Right.
a client example, but it fits in networking too. I was talking to a client earlier this week, a potential client earlier this week, somebody that I was doing some research on before I went to meet with them.
Yep.
And I noticed that they trained in Pensacola, Florida.
Okay.
So the question
and of course somewhere.
Well, I said, hey, look, as I was preparing for this meeting, I noticed that you trained in Pensacola. What inspired that? And she said, well, somebody that I know had gone to school down there too. And so we talked about that.
Are you getting ready to tell me you know the person?
I don't, but
Okay.
she said, actually though, I grew up in Montgomery. I'm like, oh, where? Because I lived in Montgomery when I went to elementary school in Montgomery. And so now we have this conversation, right?
Of course you did.
But
Lon Graham has been to every. I can't tell you how many times I hear stories about Lon's running somebody's high school, college, go dogs,
right,
military,
right,
yeah.
But the point is you ask a question to start a conversation. Typically, they don't stop with the answer to that. If you ask them, well, what inspired you? Well,
right.
I came with so-and-so, or somebody invited me, or this is why I'm here. Great. And then you ask the next one, like you talked about, we asked one more detail. And
folks, write this down. Because you're going to be in you're going to be in a networking situation here. Because you don't. This is not an area you want my advice on.
Lord have mercy.
I've got the cranberry juice in the corner if I'm there.
Well, and a lot of it though too is what are you paying attention to before you go there? Because if you just show up and you haven't either figured out who's going or you haven't been looking at some things, because most networking events will have a social media page. Yep. Most networking events will have an opportunity. Just like if you're going to a conference, there's a registration page. You know people are going to be there. Look at it. Take 5 minutes and look at it. And just figure out like who's going to be there, who do I want to see. If you haven't already been making that part of your everyday or part of your programming. All
right. I want to move to another part of this conversation. Okay. Well, this is good. I want to move to another part. So let's just say people out there that have gone to networking. One of the things you talked about, particularly if you're in a town, right? And you're in a region and you talk about seeing the same people.
Correct.
What do you do with people who should, whatever your product or service is, they should be a client.
Right.
You can help them.
Right.
Solve the problems that you solve or solve their problems or help them in their business in whatever way you are. Whether that's you're an accountant, you're in media, PR, whatever.
Right.
Some of the stuff that we do with our thought leadership interviews.
100%.
How do you and there they are again.
Yeah. Well,
haven't done any business, should
them to death, right?
So at what point do we ignore them? No, I'm just kidding. What do we do?
Well, I think you have to keep the conversation going because look, you and I both have a sales background, and we know that you lose more than you win.
Right.
That's just part of the deal. That's part of what you signed up for. We also know though that sales is a long game. Yep. That you have to continue to keep having these conversations. So what the question that you asked is somebody that I know should be doing business with us that hasn't figured out that what we're doing is going to help them grow their business, is continue having the conversations. And each time you talk to them, one, you have to be genuinely interested in that person.
Right.
You can't just say, hey, why aren't you working with me yet? You gotta get to know them. You understand.
So that is a way.
Well,
because this will be a whole nother episode, but we get into the triangle, right?
Right.
The in-market buy now people, the people that need to be nurtured and cultivated, the low interest, right? So that is an opportunity, right? That you got to go through this long nurturing process.
Right. Well, and I think if you've identified, like if I've identified that they are a good target,
right,
then I'm going to continue to remind them that they're a good target.
Mm-hmm.
Continue to ask them what's holding them up. Like
Right.
what are things that are in their way? Because the reality of it is, it doesn't matter how good my business is for them. They may have something else that they're dealing with that we just can't be their
Sure.
priority right now.
Right.
So, but I need to understand that. The other thing that I do is I remind them of the people like them who have done business with us.
Yeah.
What that means is, hey, you know, we had there's Joe. We had Joe on. There's Susie. We had Susie on. There's, you know, Mindy. We had Mindy on. We were doing work with her. We're doing work with them. So it reinforces that other people like them that they also know,
Right.
are doing business with us, doing business with my company, doing business with our company. So reminding them that people like them have made the decision to work with us and are benefiting from it.
I think it makes me. I was just watching Saturday. Do you watch Saturday Night Live at all?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. So they had a great skit a little while ago, where it was the Greenbow high school reunion.
Okay.
So Greenbow is where Forrest Gump was from.
Okay.
So the skit was Forrest Gump was there.
Oh, okay.
And then the like jock from back in the day
Right.
who owns like a tanning salon and like, you know, thinks he's the hot
Right.
thing. And he's like, oh, what's Forrest doing? And so he's making fun of him. He's like,
Right.
you don't know anything that he's been up to? Right. Multimillionaire, blah, 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 bubblegum shrimp and these things. So it was a good parody. But as you were talking, it was making me think, it reminds me of Forrest Gump and Jenny.
Okay.
Because Forrest just waited it out.
Right. Right.
He'd check in on Jenny. He'd see Jenny like this is like, oh, I see you at the event. Hey, how you
Right.
doing? How are things going? You know, you still should be doing. We should be doing some business. Oh, okay,
Right.
great. Now Jenny went on to the next thing, and
Right.
Forrest was there again.
Right.
So it sounds like you're describing. Maybe I'm coining this now. The Forrest Gump.
Well, you know,
Forrest Gump style networking.
well, so
Keep showing up. Keep saying hello. And hope they buy at the end.
well, here's the thing, too, Cory. It's not just what you do at the networking event. It's what you do in between networking
And
events.
after.
Well, in between this event, the next event, the next
Right.
event. So we're talking about recurring events, right? Ones that you go to on a regular basis.
Yep.
It's what you do in between each time you get to the next event, between today's event and the next event. And so my point is this, is that if they're giving us the Heisman, we'll do the football reference. If
Right.
they're giving us the Heisman, then I continue to talk to them at the event. And then when it comes to a point where they're ready to take the bait, then we can start to spend time on them between events.
Right.
So, but it's what you do between events that really drives your success. All the event itself does is create exposure for you.
All right. So I want to recap a little bit here, because I want tangible. I wanted this conversation was always meant to be organic,
Right.
as it is, versus sometimes we have the top 5, top 7
Right.
things we talk about. So, but I want to make sure that it always comes back to something tangible and actionable, right? My verbal challenge here in this message is, for those of you that are networking,
Right.
are you prepared to be honest with yourself?
Right.
Is it being truly productive for you, or is it an opportunity for you to just be out and for you to be able to say, I was at the covered up,
Right.
tied up from 5 to 8. I got a big networking event to go through.
Right.
But there's nothing really productive coming out of it, right? Being honest with yourself about that. From your side, from an action item, what I want to go back and crystallize some of the tangibles
Sure.
of how to make the most, so you're not just doing busy work. So first, if you're willing to be honest,
Right.
and go, I go to this stuff because it gives me opportunity to feel like I'm getting in front of people. I'm not necessarily monetizing it. I'm not seeing deals come in from it, but it makes me feel like I'm in the game and I'm meeting new people. And if I, stick to it long enough, you've heard me say sometimes you got to stay in the game long enough to win, right? And that's the secret, is stay in the game long enough for things to click and come online. So for those people that may be having a moment right now,
Right.
you know what? Yeah, I've been doing that. What are the tangibles for them to be more productive and get more out of their investment in networking?
So I would say this, and we're going to make this tangible. So we'll talk about the next networking event that you're going to.
Okay, great.
Give yourself a goal. and make that goal either meet somebody that you haven't met yet or have a conversation with somebody about doing business that you haven't had yet. And so make it one of those two things. And then just give yourself one goal.
Right.
That's all you have to do. Give yourself one goal and build on that. But have one goal, whether it's to meet somebody you haven't met before, and pick somebody not just because they seem like somebody to meet, but somebody that either can do business with you or has access to somebody that can do business with you. So pick somebody to meet or pick a person to have a conversation with that you haven't had yet So go back to your point that could be doing business with you. Pick a person and make sure you have a conversation with them. And be willing to say, there's the person I'm here to meet today, and be willing to walk away from a conversation that you're comfortable in to go have it.
Go to the bathroom.
Go to the bathroom. Like I said, though, if
get that fictitious.
If you're at a
hold on. I've got a call. Ring. Wait. Do make it ring. Do. Exactly. I make it ring.
So
I've got a space. I've got to take this.
Right. Exactly. But and then at the end of the event, decide. Grade yourself. Yes or no. Did I do it or didn't I? And then if you did it, give yourself a next step. What is that conversation? What do you do next?
Right.
Did you meet somebody that you met for the first time that you wanted to meet? Did you meet that person? Well, then follow up with a connection on LinkedIn or follow up with a note or an email. Did you get their card? Say, hey, great to meet you.
Yep.
Love to, get to know more about something.
Because the reality of it is that you're trying to develop and cultivate and close business. So it's not just enough to be outgoing,
right,
or to be extroverted, or to be the life of the party, or I can talk to anybody about anything. Right. That's not intent.
Right.
Right? You showing up completely comfortable because you can talk in an audience, or you feel great, or you get energy. Some people get energy from being in the room, right? Now, some people can suck the air out of the room too.
True.
But people get energy from that. But they do all this. They did all this talking. They did all this stuff, and there's no business.
Right.
So you've got to apply those principles from what LG is saying about having a plan.
Right.
And I think so many people don't have a plan.
Can I add to that?
When the church say amen.
Amen.
Yeah, we're a little light today.
Right.
We haven't had a lot of, I don't know, maybe this feels more, it's not a super serious conversation, but it is important.
But right. There's some real, it's a good conversation for us to have. Remember when you go to these networking events that you can only network with one person at a time. You can meet a lot of people, but you can only network with one person at a time. You can only effectively do that.
I remember Wall Street's one of my favorite movies, and they did Wall Street 2, which didn't get the credit that it deserved. But there's a great scene where Gordon Gekko is out. He's trying to reconcile with his daughter, who, of course, he's been in jail. And so they're at their favorite restaurant they used to go to his children. Have you seen Wall Street 2? Did you?
Not the second one, no.
See, you got to go, we'll put that on your list.
Yeah.
So anyway, so Jacob, who's the character that's engaged to Gordon Gekko's daughter, they start a relationship because he's on Wall Street. So they kind of start a relationship. He convinces her to come to dinner. And this is the first time they've seen each other. It's, of course, very tense, trying to get comfortable. He's, joking about her order because it's what she used to order as a kid. And dead in the middle of her actually starting to open up and talk about what she's doing in her work, the publisher of Vanity Fair walks by. And in the middle of the conversation, Michael Douglas, Gordon Gekko, jumps up and stops him and says, "Hey, Grayson, good to see you. Gordon Gekko, hey, nice to meet you." And Grayson, who is a real person, he's playing himself, who was the publisher of Vanity Fair. He's like, okay, good to see you, like completely uncomfortable. But then his daughter, of course, goes in her head, "You haven't changed a bit," and leaves.
Right.
That's what I was thinking just now when you were talking about that. Like the idea of people trying to network with everybody, like talking to someone, but you're looking at your next person,
right?
Because people do that too.
Right.
They're looking at the next person, and they're trying to go to they're going to pull the bathroom, but they're not even as respectfully coy about it as that. they're almost like will jump to someone
right
in the middle of a conversation because they see someone more important, someone that's on their list, someone that maybe, again, depending on why you're there. If you're there because you're hoping that's going to turn your whole life around,
right,
then, you see so-and-so, now you're just almost like jumping to go talk to them.
Right.
And that's not good.
It's not. And, we talked about this before. I worked in surgical sales for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I was in the hospital and I worked with doctors and nurses and administrators. And I can't tell you how many times sales representatives would walk away from a nurse or walk away from an administrator or walk away from a conversation because they saw a doctor walking by and they said, I got to go.
And they don't know how those places run if they think that's the smart move.
Well, 100%. Yeah. And a nurse would say to me, there he goes again, or there she goes again, and so that's the same thing. The Gordon Gekko example is perfect in Wall Street too. Same thing. Salespeople do it. We've talked about sales, networking. It's the same thing. If this is the person, pick the person that you want to have the conversation with and have a conversation with that person. If the person you're talking to isn't that person and the person that you want to talk to shows up and is available, it's perfectly okay to be respectful of the conversation. Say, hey, look, that's a conversation I have to have tonight. So I'm going to apologize and cut this short so that I can go have the conversation I came to have.
Yeah.
At a networking event, it's perfectly okay to say that.
Okay.
Because other people are there to do that too.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that the person you're talking to isn't important, but make them feel important enough that you're willing to close that conversation before you move on.
Gotcha.
Voice of reason.
There you have it. Yeah, that is the voice of reason. Well, because again, networking is very important. It leads to certain things. I mean, it certainly leads to relationships. Now, I think there's also a perspective you have to have on. People talk about ROI. I talk about ROE.
Right.
I talk about return on energy.
Right.
So there does need to be something said. Let's see if you agree with this on what I'm selling, what business I'm in, what those transactions are, because I may not have time to do this long cultivation for what the ROI on my product or service is.
Right.
I'm high volume, I'm low margin, high volume.
Right.
That's a different play than cultivating the software sale for 6 figures or whatever. So I have to. I think there's a fine line between being interested, disingenuous, caring, and not caring. Right? Because some of that is, being genuinely interested in, asking questions and following up and trying to notate those things to personalize an experience.
Right.
But I don't know. Do I spend 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks cultivating all this stuff and my product is $99?
Well, it depends. And what it depends on are the people that can buy your product at the event that you're going to. Mm-hmm. And are you going to the event where your ideal client is? Or are you going to the event where there are people that have access to your ideal client?
Or because you like the restaurant it's being held at and they have good hors d'oeuvres?
Well, then if you made that decision ahead of time, that's
bang shrimp, baby.
Right?
I don't even eat seafood.
Yay. Yay. Yeah.
We've had that. I've had that conversation too. Oh, it's going to be at so and so. Oh, it's going to be good. A good spread there.
Right. Well, I've gone to an event because it was at Morton's. Mm-hmm. I'm no shame in that. No shame in that.
Listen, I'll sit through a how to be financially free presentation at Fleming's.
Right, exactly. 100%. So to your point though, the question that you asked is the answer is it depends. And it depends on, is that the right place for you to do business?
Right.
Because we'll go back. I mean, we talk about this in almost every one of these podcasts. Do you know who your ideal client is?
Right.
And where are they? And so if you're going to networking events that does not include your ideal client or the format is not conducive for you to do business, then decide, do you really need to be going to that event again?
Right.
That's really it. So it's have a clear plan, know who your client is, understand where they are. And then if it is a networking event, then do that. If it's not, if it's a conference or if it's a association meeting or something, pick a different place and then apply the principles of networking. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. It always makes sense when LG 007 is sharing information.
Voice of reason.
Yes, that's why we call him the voice of reason. Well, listen, I think I don't want to beat a dead horse. I think this has been a great conversation here. And networking is important. It plays a huge role. If you're going to do it, you want to do it right. If you've been thinking about getting more involved and doing more, because there are deals. There's a lot of power. You just want to be on the side that has a plan, has a productive plan, and actually is producing it, because it is time. There's cost involved. There's tickets, even in your associations where they are mindful of that. And it's a $30 ticket and not a $300 ticket. It's still time, effort, commitment to do it. So having a plan, having a structure, and being honest with yourself, and saying, hey, is there really value in me going to this, or am I just going, for the carving station?
Or be honest with yourself. Why am I really going to this?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and do I have a plan to go in here, or is it just, spread my wings and fly?
Well, and the
because I don't want to see that. But here's the issue, and I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
I talk to so many people who are discouraged because they're like, I've went to these events, I'm showing up at all these places, I'm really good at what I do, I'm trying to talk to people what I'm doing, and I can't get any business.
Right.
And then you start to unpack the action. It's not the activity of showing up. It is the strategy. Right? Being a part of the right things, going to the right things. But what is the strategy when you get there? And I think that's the big takeaway, Lon, that I got from you, and then what you've shared with the audience, I think is tremendously valuable, and I hope they do too.
Thank you. Yeah. That's the thing, is go with a plan and execute your plan.
Because you can get lunch anywhere.
You can.
All right. I think that's going to do it. I think I want to leave that there. I mean, we always reserve the right to revisit any topic for the power of redundancy. Because our goal, of course, is, again, not to be your guru, but to share some insights, particularly with people, in this case, been to a lot of networking events. That's part of the fabric of some of what we do and what our team does and what Lon does. So there's that expertise in going, hey, here's how I've seen it be successful, but here's some observations. Here's why people don't go. Here's why I'm not big on it. Like, hey, are the buyers going to be there? Right. So those are those questions that we should be asking. And that's the challenge. So we hope we accomplished the goal. Hope we understood the assignment of helping you grow, as is our mission statement here at the podcast. And Willie H has been here. Willie H, I want to thank you as always for being here. Anything? Okay. He's going to be ready. I don't know what's going on. Willie H. Okay. He's like, I don't want to push his buttons. There'll be a post-show meeting today to discuss that. LG007, Lon, always great to have you here. Thank you for your insights and wisdom as always. And in case you don't know, I'm Cory Mosley, and this has been another episode of the Grow Business Podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for continuing to come back week after week. I don't ever want to leave the show without thanking our viewers and thanking the people. We've got some great 5-star reviews. Awesome. And I always say this: if you love the show, hit the review button, hit the star button. If you don't, keep it to yourself.
Exactly.
It's the easiest way. But no matter what happens, we will be back next week with another great episode. Willie H, take us out. Yeah. We need bobbleheads. I was given a bobblehead one time as a gift.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a check and a bobblehead.
Cool.
So check first,
right?
But as a nice gift.
Oh, that's
speaking of this, you look nothing like them.
You look like the third baseman for the local baseball team.
I think my bobblehead is in Atlanta.
Okay.
At ASB News. I think it's in the drawer there because I used to use it. And I have to investigate that.
That's if it truly is a bobblehead of you, that's pretty cool.
100% true.
I'm not debating that. What I'm saying is for meeting plans or people that are doing something like that, they're looking for a person to grow.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool thing.